All right. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is our 12th edition of our online training tutorial class on CorelDraw graphics. Please, if you are new to this channel, like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell. Welcome back once again. I believe in our last class we discussed about the interactive class, things that has to do with the shadow, the contour, blend, distort, envelope, extrude, and block shadow. Of course, I believe we've practiced them and we've known how to apply them, how to use the tools. Today, we'll be discussing transparent tool. Okay, transparent tool, of course, it's something that has to do with fading out something. Let's assume you have something like this and you want it to be fainted. Anything that has to do with fainting out something from its original look to a different thing entirely. So let's see what we have for this transparent tool. Okay, once I click on it, you see the property bar changed, right? So once I click on the uniform transparent, of course what we have here now is uniform transparency. They said is where we apply a regular evenly distributed transparency. Once I click on it, you see more features about this. That before now we have a transparent object that is as thick as this. Now here we are now seeing that we can transparent it to be as light as anything. Okay, and in this very transparent class we will see more features of it. Okay, we will see more features. The most important thing about this transparency is fainting out something, fading out something. That is just all what this transparency is all about, and we'll be applying it both on object and text. All right, now I have something here with me. There is a logo I did for someone, and I would like us to do something about. I would like us to practice. Of course, as time goes on, we'll be using all these toolbox to achieve something like this. This is highly achievable. It's very possible we achieve this in CorelDraw, and that is the reason why I want us to please have that patience to finish every toolbox we have here. Then we can now start up our design proper. By men learning all this, you agree with me that this is just a minor design as far as CorelDraw graphics is concerned. So the reason why I brought this is this. Let's assume we have an object like this and I'm asked to transparent it. Once I click on the transparency tool, once I click on it, you discover that it's fainting. All right, it's fainting. So can we apply this to a background? The answer is yes. I can power this inside, place this inside container and decide to give any background, and you see it painted. Okay, of course you see it painted. All these invoice receipts you see, or letter-headed paper you see, or a commentary card, or even a normal design that you see that someone's picture or a particular background is being painted inside a box or a circle. Just have it in mind that it is this transparent tool that we use to achieve that. Okay, so you can see any color you apply to this now, this thing still apply. You see that very object still showing. Okay, and another interesting thing about this transparency now is we have this object, sorry, and if I decide to duplicate, of course I can copy and paste. You know, normal copy and paste is Ctrl C to copy, and to paste is Ctrl V. But the long cut is going through your menu bar, then you point where we have the edit, right? Now in this edit you see copy, which is Ctrl C. Of course you see paste, which is Ctrl V. So if I know the shortcut, I just press it and paste it. But in a situation whereby I want to do it using my shortcut Control C and Control V. You see I've copied and pasted, but then I want it to be as if he's standing on top of a table, like he's standing on top of a table. Now if I click on it, I will hold down my Control key and press the center, hold any of the center node, right? Once I'm still holding down my Control key. Once I press and drag down, don't mind what you're saying. Just while you are still holding the Control key and you are pressing down the left key, the two, you are still holding the two. Now right click on your mouse, it will just duplicate. Then the first, after right clicking on your mouse, the first thing you leave is the left click, then before leaving your Control key. Then you can take it up, adjust it up, right? Just adjust it up and bring it very, very close, right, to the main object. Then you pick your transparent, instead of you now using your uniform transparency to apply. Of course, once you use that of uniform, it will only be uniform like this, and which is not what I want to achieve. So I can just say no transparency. What I need to do is I can drag from here like this. Remember the last class we did, that of the interactive class, you agree with me that all those effects we have been applying, you will see white box and black box. Now I think it is in this transparent two box class that you get to know what this white and black is all about. So once I drag it, I left click, press down my left click and drag, you discover that where the black is where the effect of the effect will be taking place. Now this is to adjust how thick you want the transparency to be, or you want it to be very, very light. So if this is something like this, if this is what I need, I can now drag this up. I can decide to be increasing it. You see, you come to discover that something is happening here where we have the object in duplicate, right? Now this black has hidden it, okay, and now is now fading it gradually. Of course, this is how do you want the transparency to be. Do you want it to come through this side, or do you want it to come through this side? But in as much as it's straight like this, the something comes straight, it follows the straight line. So if it is in this format, if it is in this direction, you discover that the transparency will follow this straight line. So let's see what we have when we apply background to it. You see what is happening. So you see that in some design, you see something like this, that you are seeing a shape, or sorry, you are seeing an object, but you are seeing it in a duplicated form but transparent under it. So it's just an effect, a very unique one. Okay, it's just an effect and a very unique one. And I believe we can as well type something like comic, funny, um comedian, something like this. Of course, we can achieve this drawing here in this CorelDraw. As soon as we commence our class proper, I'll be doing that. I'll use a comic font, remember, then I can break apart and let's see what we have here. Okay, this text, I remember telling us that we can break apart an interactive, any interactive thing we pick from here. Let's assume the contour, the shape, just name it, anyone we apply. Of course, you can break apart. Let's assume I increase. Of course, you can break apart this, Ctrl K, right? Or you go through your object and click on break apart, right? You see that this is totally different from the effect. And even at the effect, you can still ungroup all the effects by pressing Ctrl U. Then you can see it. Okay, you can see it. You scattered it, as in you can ungroup it one after another. So same thing happens to this text. There's one interesting aspect of this break apart. Breaking apart is Ctrl K. Either I press Ctrl K or I go through the object. I'll press the Ctrl K. I'll press the break apart, sorry. You discover that the text is now on its own, right? The text is now on its own. Okay, so the same thing if I want to combine them back. Okay, now if you go through this object, you discover that the break apart is very close to what we are seeing here, combine, right? So combine is control L, that is you press down your control key and press your L, while breaking apart is press down your control key and press your K. So what it means is, if I want to bring back this the way it was, of course I will have to select all. Now they are independent on their own. What I need to do now is, I know how to spell funny, right? It's Funny. So I'll start by pressing the F because it's the first character that comes. Then I'll hold my shift key. Shift key is used to multi-select a text or to multi-select an object. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters. Now in this comedian, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 characters that makes up a word comedian. So we have 5 characters here that makes up this funny. So to multi-select this five character for it to become a word, once I press down the first character that comes first, I'll press down my shift key, then I'll continue pressing the remaining character. Now after pressing it, you discover that it has multi-select the 5 character. So how do you combine it to become a word? It's either you go to your object and click back. Before, the combine was fainted the way break apart was fainted. This is to tell you that those that did this CorelDraw application knew too well when to activate a particular function in menu bar. Okay, so why we not multi-select this text? When you go through your object, you discover that the combine was inactive, just the way the break apart was inactive. But now that this these characters form a word, if I go to object, the computer assume that I want to break apart or do any other active functions we are seeing here. That is why break apart is active. Now in this situation, once I click then multi-select, like I said, press down your shift key. Now once I go back to the object, you discover that the combine is active. Once I press the combine or I press down my control L, you see that it will bring it back the way it was before. So let's try to play around this. Now break apart, control key. Of course we know how to break apart and how to combine back. So if I break apart the way it is, very quick one, right? I multi-select and press, okay? I'll just hold down my control key and press L. Now it has joined. Now let me break apart. Let's try to work on this. I can increase this, right? Of course I can increase, right? Let's assume something like this. Let's assume we have something like this. Okay, now I can decide to give it different colors, right? I can decide to give it, let's say, different colors. Then after this, I can group. Group is Control G, right? Of course, when we begin our design proper, we'll be doing all this, but we can still go through these property bars. Okay, we can still go through this menu bar, and of course you see where we have group. Now when you go in, you see where we have group, which is Control G, right? So as we are advancing in this class, even you can take out your time and explore all this. They all have their shortcuts. All right, just explore and be mastering these shortcuts. Like under edit, we have to duplicate, Control D, to paste, Control V, to cut, like that, to repeat, to undo. That is, if let's assume I have done a mistake maybe I was to do something, I mistakenly press delete. How do I bring it back? You go to edit, you see where they say undo, which is Ctrl Z. Once you press it, you see it comes back. So to group now is Ctrl G, okay? I don't need to come through this object and Ctrl G. Now what I just need to do, I can now come to my interactive tool. Then maybe either I use my extrude, either I use my contour, anyone you wish to use. But I told us when applying this contour, let me bring it in so that you get it clear. When applying this contour, just come to this third one that has outside contour. Just press. You see something like this. Now we have 5 steps because is written here 5. So you can adjust it. Okay, let's say 3 is okay. I can now return back my shape tool, my pick tool. I can break apart. That is breaking the main text apart with the effects of the contour by pressing Ctrl K. Right, it has break. Then after breaking it apart, this is what I need to give different colors. So I need to still ungroup it by pressing Ctrl U, right? By pressing Ctrl U, which is this. Okay, all these shortcuts will be knowing it as time goes on. So what I need to do, I need to do something now. I need to get this color, some of this related color. I need to get the color here. The question now is, how do we get something of this nature, this color, to apply it here? How do we get it? This brings us to our next class where we have the color eyedropper tool. Now, when you read it, they say sample colors and apply them to object. What it means, it is used to pick a particular color from a different place to apply it to a particular object or a text where you are working. So if this is the color I want, once I pick it, the next thing I do, I'll go right inside where I want to place it. Then I'll color it. This is what is happening. I've colored the first one. I'll return my pick tool, then pick it again. And let's say I need this color. Of course, I'll give it. Okay. Now I'll return it. Let's say I need this light yellow. I'll still pick it and return it. So in this situation, you see we are having something unique. Okay. Meanwhile, of course, we know that this shadow we created is still showing. If you feel that it's not showing very well, you can still reduce it so that you can be seeing it. Of course, you can see what is happening here. You can still adjust. So this funny comedian, of course, I can remember we did something that has to do with this shape tool that we can stretch. Of course, we can stretch, right? You know, I was stretching and it was supposed to come just this way, not to be expanding. But it's simply because this text was centralized where we have the alignment. If you can see here, if you explore it, you discover that it was active on centralized. I can bring it to left so that once I pick it again, it will only expand, it will only stretch from one side. All right, so I can just stretch it, then maybe give it any color I wish to. Okay, so we have something like this. Now in that contour effect that we apply, I can give it a shadow. That is the last one. I can decide to give it a shadow. I'll go there, pick my shadow, then come back to the preset. I'll just maybe use any shadow at all I want. I can use this small glow. You see it has been applied. I can change the color, right? I can pick, see this eyedropper you're seeing. Now you can see that it's everywhere that has to do with color. That eyedropper tool, you can see it here. Okay, once I pick it, I can decide to give it this color. I can decide to give it this color, and if I feel that it's too much, I can reduce it a little and maybe reduce the opacity so that it will look unique. So how are you seeing what we're doing here now? If I can decide to give this color two different color, that is yellow and white, that will come to the fountain fill where we have this. You can shift it and see what is happening. You can rotate, like I said, you can rotate anywhere, you can rotate it to any direction. Okay, Now you can just play around it. Okay, you can just play around it. So if this is what I want, I will just click on OK, and you see that we are having a very unique comic design. All right, a very unique comic design. Of course, if the transparency is contradicting with that comedian text, I can pick my transparency and still adjust it. Okay, okay, so we have a unique something like this. I believe one may ask question, how did you duplicate this that it gives us exactly what we have here? Now I say you press down your control and hold any of the center of the nodes, those 8 nodes that is appearing in every shape or a text. Then you drag, just drag it down. It will give you exact size of what you're seeing there. Just while you are still pressing down the control and the left click, you right click and just right click and leave it. Then after leaving the right click, leave the left click and leave the control. Then you can just adjust. Okay, then you can just adjust it. There are many ways to do this. Then before you can now apply your transparency. Okay, before you can now apply your transparency. Now if you cannot remember this, the other way to achieve it is press your Ctrl C to copy and Ctrl V to paste, or you come through this edit, press your control, that is you press your copy and go back to edit and press your paste. Like I said, one of the good things they use in knowing a good graphic artist is by using shortcut keys. Okay, so it's good we keep mastering it. If you remember, I told us that most of these toolbox has their shortcut. Picking a text box is F8, right? And others like that. To return a pic to is control and space. You remember in our first second class we did something like that while we are treating that class. Now I've copied and pasted, right? So the next thing I do is to just take it down and just press your down key. Is going down, and if you feel going down like this is taking your time, hold your left key and hold control. Okay, so that it will fasten what you're doing. As soon as you've gotten what you need, go through your property bar. This property bar is very effective because anything that has to do with design, the more we are using this toolbox is the more we are applying the property bar to you, because every function of this toolbox appears on property bar. It's just once in a while that will come through either the menu bar or the standard bar. Okay, now to rotate this, you come through this mirror horizontal and mirror vertically. So once I click on it, you see what happens, and I'll click on the second one, you see what happens. So it has given us something like this, but the question now is this what we needed? That is the question. Is this what we needed? Yes. All right, so you'll be turning it till you get what you want. So it has given us what we need. Then we can now pick the transparency and transparent it. So that is another way to achieve it. So like I told us, please be patient and then let's try to explore all these toolbox. Then we can commence our design proper. There are many things that we'll be achieving in this class. And please, if you are new to this channel, like, comment, subscribe and turn on the notification bell for subsequent video. So I believe we have been able to know how to make use of our transparent tool, and of course the color eyedropper. Everything we did for this object is exactly what we can still achieve using this text. Okay, everything we did, like I said, this is comedian, right? We have this comedian text, and if I want to duplicate it, I give it a color and I want to duplicate, I'll make the step. Once I press my left down key, right, make a step and hold control. Don't mind, the up one will disappear. It's still there. Computer is just waiting for you, the user, to um actually give the command. Now what I did, let's start again. Once you hold control, you make a step. Just hold control, press down your left click and drag. It will bring something like this for you. Then right click on top. Then you see that up one that was hidden before has shown. It means you can now pick your transparency, then transparent it. So same thing happen. So if you bring it inside here, you discover that that effect is showing. Okay, you discover that the effect is showing. So the idea here is just duplicating a shape or a text and making it to be a 3D, making it to be as if it's on a top, making it to be as if it's on top of a table. So the idea about this transparency is that it will give you a look as if you are placing a text or an object on top of a table or something that has to do with object. So if you cannot remember the pressing down your control and using your left and duplicating, the next way you can do it is pressing your control C and pressing your control V, you drag it down. Okay, so the next thing you need to do after dragging it down is to do your angular rotation. If you know your angular rotation, you just come here and do it, angle of rotation. But if not, you try the mirror horizontal and try the mirror vertical. So in that, it will not give you exactly what you want. Okay, so this is what we have here. Then you can now pick your transparency, then just drag. Okay, of course, inside this very transparency, of course, we have done that of uniform and that of fountain transparent, which is what we are doing here. All these other ones, we can still explore them. To is still part of transparency, but it comes in different form again. So you can just explore them. Look at them, you can just explore them. Is another design of transparency. Anything we do on shape is still applicable to text. Okay, the way I'm doing it for text is the way you can do it for shape. Look at this is another form of transparency once you pick it. Okay, this different form of transparency once you pick it. So that is what we have. Okay, you see it. So that is exactly what we have, right? But of course, me, I like using a very simple, unique transparency, which is this fountain fill transparency, and I can adjust it the way I want. Okay, adjust it the way I want. Of course, I've told us how to make use of this. If you want it to be transparent this way, any direction where this is pointing at, that is where the text or the shape will show. Then the other side of direction, the other side of this direction will now be transparent. So I believe we have been able to know this transparency tool and that of eyedropper. Of course, this attributes eyedropper has nothing much to do. It has nothing much at all to do. Nothing much at all to do. Okay, just as if you picking a color from either a text or a shape. That is, I'm talking about this attribute dropper, picking a color from either a text or a shape, then give it to a different text or a shape. So it's just the same thing that the color eyedropper does, and that is what we have for this attribute color dropper. I believe we have been able to um, know how to make use of the transparency and that of color eyedropper. I would like you to please constantly view my channel and show to your friends and family. So today I believe we have been able to achieve a lot in today's class. Please do well to share with friends and well wishers as I look forward of seeing you in my next video. Thank you and have a great day ahead.